I met with the Congresswoman at Jacobi Hospital in the Bronx to discuss its Stand Up to Violence program, which has shown an impressive 46% reduction in retaliatory violence in its first few years. As a Democrat focused on violence, isn't that off-brand?
Well, I'm from the Bronx, so it's on brand for where I'm from.
But there is a lot of discussion around what progressives can do about violence in a big city.
What the data has showed us is that if you respond to violence as a public health issue instead of as an incarceration issue, violence decreases. And that's what we're doing here at Jacobi Hospital.
Are there cops here at the hospital that are addressing the issue?
Hell no.
Okay.
No, this is, listen, and there's security presence and police presence that is standard in any hospital, but that's not what this program is about. In the traditional response to an incidence of violence, a shooting or a stabbing, you may go to the ER real quick, you get patched up, and then you go straight to the precinct. What we decided to do is that we said, hey, let's shift the response and see what happens when we make the center of response a hospital instead of a jail.
When a patient comes to the ER with a gunshot wound, the Stand Up to Violence team works with the victim and members of the community to prevent violent retaliation. You're essentially talking about preventative medicine here.
It is. It absolutely
is. Which in America, it's not exactly our thing.
We're
if you
not
look at our
known for
healthcare,
that,
we're not
right?
known for that. We're more of a reactive medicine
and
type society.
And you know, we have caseworkers, we have social workers, we have therapists, and we also have people who themselves were once incarcerated. Some of our most effective people in this work are the former gang members, former people who formerly spent time at Rikers.
I can hear how Fox News would spin this as AOC tries to defund the police and fund gang members.
If I spent my time worried about what Fox News said, I wouldn't be here.
We're here in New York City, and you're talking about funding violence prevention outside of the police. And yet, Eric Adams has just increased police wages by 28%. Is that misplaced?
I think so. We are now at a point where officially most officers are paid more than a teacher with a master's degree serving these same kids involved in these same incidents. We are defunding safety, defunding our public schools, defunding our public pools, defunding our parks, defunding our libraries, when we are taking all of those resources and demanding that every single department except the militarized one be cut. We are sending a message about who and what we care about.
Here in a hospital, do you ever get the vibes? Do you ever consider a career in the medical profession?
It's funny you ask that. When I went to college, I went in as a pre-medical student.
Really?
I wanted to be an OBGYN, actually. But, you know, life takes us in where it takes us.
I considered going into the medical profession. I thought I could play a handsome doctor on TV. Didn't pan out. While we were on the subject of national embarrassment, I had to ask the Congresswoman about Clarence Thomas and his BFF, Nazi swag collector Harlan Crow. I want to talk a little bit about Clarence Thomas. You've said you would even draft articles of impeachment for the things that he's done.
Yeah.
Has there been any quid pro quo? And I said quid pro quo partially because it took all that effort to learn what quid pro quo meant back in the Ukraine days, and it feels apropos of now. And I don't think I used apropos correctly.
I think that quid pro quo is this bar that doesn't even need to be met. The justice is required by law to disclose something like that, and he hasn't been.
Can you empathize, though? If Beyonce came through here and wanted to take you on a sweet vacation, wouldn't you say yes and let her show you her Nazi memorabilia?
You gotta tell someone about it. But hey, don't put Bay's name on that like that.
I'm not saying she has not. I'm saying if she invested in Nazi memorabilia to show that she hates Nazi memorabilia, she'd want to show it off.
And that whole thing is just, bizarre. You also don't keep the linens around.
Which linens? The Nazi linens?
Yeah. Who does that?
Don't you think if you had $1 billion and you bought everything, you'd probably eventually get to Nazi linens?
This is the distraction of that whole issue.
You're right. We're just focused on that, as opposed to all the money that's going over to Clarence Thomas. Although, if you're a billionaire, can't billionaires have friends?
They can. Supreme Court justices are required if they are receiving money from people. They shouldn't even be receiving money from people. This is why we pay salaries to public servants. And if they want to live that kind of lifestyle, then they can resign from the court. They can retire.
Now, I want to talk about the court. It's looking as if the Supreme Court is going to rule on some of the conflicting rulings around mifepristone. Who do you think is going to write the final decision that takes away these vital rights from women? Is it going to be the guy who cried over beer, or is it going to be the buddy with the Nazi memorabilia guy?
You know, my hope is that we do not get to that point. But we also have to face the reality that the Supreme Court has chosen to give up huge swaths of their own legitimacy. Chief Justice Roberts, Clarence Thomas, Brett Kavanaugh, the Republican Party, in them giving up trying to take seriously the legitimacy, the standards, the integrity of the court, they have given up a very large degree of their authority.
The new news in Florida this week is the 6-week abortion ban. How do women approach that or fight back against something like that that's happening in Florida?
Of course, there's the standard, like, vote and mobilize, but I'm gonna put that aside for a second. We do not have to accept tyranny. And this is a form of tyranny. It is a form of violence. Women will die, people will die because of this decision. And it will be, by and large, the men who sign these laws that are killing the women that will die by them. And we have a responsibility to help one another, whether that is supporting organizations that mail mifepristone, which has significantly reduced risk, certainly safer than medications like Viagra. But ultimately, we cannot continue to accept people in power who will abuse others for their own gain.
Indictment week was last week. It might also be a month from now, too. We could have a lot of indictment weeks. How do you think New Yorkers treated former President Donald Trump?
I think they treated him like a Florida man. He don't belong to us no more, okay? He's not from Queens anymore. He's a citizen of Mar-a-Lago at this point.
And you saw New Yorkers treating him as such.
Yeah, why wouldn't we?
Do you think people were weeping when he was booked, as he claims?
Maybe George Santos and Marjorie Taylor Greene were, but not me. Kick it back to LaGuardia, maybe.
Kick it back to LaGuardia? Which is in your district?
Yes, it's in my district, and so is Rikers. And so I have to go in every single day watching people get treated far worse for doing far less. And then, you know, it's like this red carpet that gets rolled out. I mean, if you hurt one person, you get 10 years in prison, but if you hurt millions of people, you get your name on a building.
Congresswoman, thanks for talking to me.
Of course. Thanks for having me.